Should I apply my SPF before my moisturizer? Does concealer go before foundation? Should I do my eyeshadow before I do my foundation? In today's tutorial, sis, I'm gonna answer all of those questions and show you the correct order of applying makeup. So if you're interested, just continue to watch. Alright sis, so disclaimer, there is no correct way of doing makeup. Obviously, there are different types of makeup looks, so every makeup look is a different procedure regardless. But this is generally the steps you would want to take to create a full face of makeup. So I've already done my skincare off camera. If you guys want a separate video of the correct order to apply your skincare products, I can definitely do that if you're interested. But before I go in with makeup, I just make sure to moisturize my skin. And then a big question that people usually ask is, when do they apply sunscreen? So when does the sunscreen application come into the whole makeup process? So that is a really good question. Applying SPF is important, especially during the summer seasons when we're exposed to a lot of sun. I'd recommend applying your SPF after your moisturizer and before your primer. So in that order, so moisturizer, SPF, and then your primer. So I've already applied my moisturizer and SPF. I did use my Murad Oil and Pore Control Broad Spectrum SPF 45 Lightweight Moisturizer. So you would want to apply this before your primer. Alright, so now that you have your moisturizer and your SPF out of the way, we can now move on to your primer. So you always want to make sure you're going in with a primer. Primer is just going to be that base for your makeup. So for today's video, I'm going to be using the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. This is like an all-around good primer for anyone, whether you're oily skin, dry skin, combination skin like myself. I really enjoy using the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. So I'm going to use this and just focus it in my T-zone. You can also apply it all over your face if you want. I personally like just applying this in all of my T-zone area. And this primer is just going to allow your makeup to really grip on the skin. It's going to hydrate as well and really set the skin up for a flawless makeup look. If you do not have the Milk Hydro Grip Primer in your makeup kit, you definitely need to get this. I'll leave it in my links below so you can purchase it. Definitely something I would recommend in your makeup kit. Alright, so the next step depends on your skin. So if you're someone who suffers with a lot of hyperpigmentation, dark marks, things like that, I would recommend either color correcting or going in with a flesh tone concealer to conceal those areas before going in with your foundation. You can definitely go in with your foundation right away as well. There is no right or wrong answer to that, but if you're someone who suffers with really dark marks, like for myself, I wouldn't consider myself someone who has like dark marks that a foundation wouldn't cover. But if you have like really dark marks that, you know, you might need extra layer of foundation, I would recommend going in with a concealer or a color corrector first to minimize how much foundation you're going to be putting on your skin. So for example, I do have my L'Oreal True Match Radiant Serum Concealer. This is my perfect match, and I would use this to conceal either underneath my eyes where I have really dark under eyes, or around my mouth where I do have hyperpigmentation, acne marks, things like that. So I'd use this to kind of create that even base before I go in with my foundation. I'm going to let it sit for a while so that I get the full coverage of this concealer. Doing this will allow me to use less foundation. So I'm just going to take my concealer brush and just dab that concealer in, and as you can see, it just gave me a really nice even canvas. If you go in right away with your foundation on any dark spots or acne marks that you have, it is more than likely that you are going to be seeing that peeping through your foundation if you don't conceal or cover that before your foundation. All right, so just like that, I created a really even canvas. Now you can go in with your foundation. So once you have your foundation, you have the option of building it up to your liking. The only reason I say to use your concealer first is so that you won't have to go in and compensate with your foundation to cover your acne marks or your hyperpigmentation. You can easily just go in with 1 to 2 pumps to do your foundation. So foundation of choice today is my Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Foundation. I'm in the shade 24N. And what I'm going to do is pump 1 pump on the back of my hand to start. And then I'm going to go in with my e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush. I love this to just stipple in that foundation. I'm just going to take a bit of that foundation and just warm it on the back of my hand, and then work in sections and apply my foundation. And what you want to do is just stipple it in. This is going to give you a really nice coverage off the bat. All right, sis, so this is one layer of of my foundation. Now, like I said, you have the option of building your foundation. So if you need a little bit of extra coverage, let's say around your mouth, you can definitely add like one more layer around the mouth if you need to, or on your entire face, up to you. I think I'm gonna leave it like this because you guys know by now that I'm a really natural type of makeup person. I don't like putting too much makeup on my face. So we're gonna leave it at one layer, especially because I did do a bit of spot correcting before applying my foundation. All right, so next is optional, to be honest. You can apply either your liquid blush or your concealer next. So for me, I love applying my liquid blush first because I will have the option of using my concealer to really tone down the liquid blush after. So I'll show you guys that. So I am gonna be using my e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blush. This is in the shade Coming in Hot. I've been loving this. I don't know, I love this blush. So we're gonna use this today, and I'm just gonna take some on the back of my hand, just like that. And then I'm gonna go in with the brush that I use for my liquid blush, warm it up on the back of my hand, and then I'm just gonna lightly go in with that blush. You could see I kind of went in with a heavy hand on this side, so I just kind of transferred it on this side to even it out. But you wanna just apply your blush first. This is going to make it a little easier with the blending. I know blush could be really intimidating and you never wanna go in with too much blush at once. So even if you do that, doing it first can save you a lot of fixing and blending later. So if you are someone who loves to wear liquid blush, apply your liquid blush before your concealer. Okay, so it's looking a little crazy, but bear with me. Now is time for concealer. So when it comes to your concealer, you want to grab a concealer that is 2 to 3 shades lighter. This is going to act as your highlight and contour. If you are new sis to my channel and just tuning into this video, check out my makeup for beginners. I go in depth on everything that you need to know in terms of what products to use, how to use them, the brush, things like that. So I go really in depth in that video. So I'll leave it on the cards above for you to check out, or you can check my description box. So with your concealer, you want to go in with a concealer that is 2 to 3 shades lighter, and this is just going to act as your highlight. I am going to be using my LA Girl Pro concealer in the shade Fawn. And with my concealer, I like to work in sections. So I like to work with my under eyes first, and then I do everything else after. So I'm just going to apply a bit of this to my inner corner and then the sides here. All right, so I'm just going to go in with my concealer blending brush and blend this out. And you want to focus on blending out the edges first so that it blends into your blush. And this is the whole reason I say to do your blush first, because your concealer is going to do all the work in toning down that blush and cleaning it up, especially if you went in with a heavy hand. So just like that, you see how I was able to really tone down the blush. All right, I'm gonna apply some on my forehead as well, down the bridge of my nose, my cupid's bow, and my chin. And then we're just gonna blend it out. I do have a detailed video on blending and just some really good blending techniques. So if you haven't checked that out, I'll leave it in the cards above as well. You just want to take your time with blending and make sure that you're blending that concealer in the areas that you've applied it. Okay, so with the concealer, you also want to conceal your eyelids. So I'd recommend going in with the same concealer that you used and just conceal the lids. I'm just gonna take my brush as well and blend that out. So when we get to the brows, we'll pick this one back up. But for now, we just concealed the eyelids. All right, so now it's time for your cream bronzer or your cream contour. So for today, I'm gonna be using my Fenty Beauty Eavesdrop Blur and Smooth Tint Stick. This one is in the shade 23. And this is supposed to be used as like a foundation stick, but I did grab the wrong shade in this, so I use it as like a contour bronzer. So I'm gonna use this in all the areas that I would normally contour or bronze my face. Just gonna apply it to my cheekbones, my forehead, down the bridge of my nose, and my jaw. And then I'm going to go in with my Haus Labs angled foundation brush. I love that it's angled because this is going to help me blend my contour up. So I'm just going to dab that in and blend. And you guys saw where I applied that. I applied it right under my blush. And what that did is added structure to my face. So the difference with contour as opposed to bronzer is that bronzer is warming up the skin. It's not really adding structure, whereas contour is really cutting and adding that structure to your face. So the reason that we apply all our creams first is because this is what our makeup is. Our makeup is essentially the cream product, and the powders are what sets the cream products in place. So you always want to lay down all your cream products before you go in with any powder. And then with my angled brush, this is the only brush I use for my nose contour. This is called the Fluffy Winged Shadow Brush. This is by the brand Quo. So if you're here in Canada, you can find this brand. I'm not sure if they sell it on Amazon, but I believe Morphe has a dupe to it. I'll leave that in the description box below for you guys to check out. But yeah, so I'm just gonna use this to blend out my nose contour. So taking my foundation brush, I'm literally just going over the edges, making sure that everything is blended and seamless before I set it with any powder. You don't want to be setting harsh lines. You just want to make sure everything is blended before you go in with any powder. So this is how the skin is looking before powder. All right, so now it's time to apply some powder. So when it comes to powder, we're talking about our setting powder, our face powder, our bronzer, things like that. So this is what's going to keep our makeup in place for the day. So I'm going in with my Black Radiance True Complexion Loose Setting Powder in the shade Honey. I love using this to set my under eyes and just all the areas that I concealed. And before going in with that powder, I like to just go over the areas that I've applied that concealer and just make sure that I'm blending out the creases, because you never want to go in with powder on your creasing. And I'm just taking my velour puff, and before I go in with the powder, I like to take off the excess on the back of my hand. You want to work with a little bit so that you're not going straight on with so much powder. And once you do that, you can then just set your under eye just like that. This is literally one of my favorite powders because you guys are seeing it for yourself. It gives such a smooth finish. Like, my skin looks like flawless when I use this powder. It gives such a smooth finish. My pores are like non-visible. I look like I have really smooth skin. And you also want to apply that powder in your smile lines just to prevent those from showing throughout the day. I'm just gonna do a bit of reverse contour. So for the most part, we set the entire face. So before I go in with my bronzer, I'm gonna work on my brows. So brows is obviously up to you. I like to go in with my spoolie and just make sure that I'm brushing out my brow hairs. You always wanna make sure that you use a spoolie to do this. No matter what brow look you're doing, you always want to brush out your brow hairs. And then for my brows today, I'm gonna go in with a brow pencil. This is the Ebin New York Precision Brow Pencil in the shade Deep Espresso. And I'm just going to use this to fill in any sparse areas on my brow. And all I'm doing is creating just brow strokes to mimic the look of brows, I guess. All right, so once you fill it in, you want to go back in with your concealer. So I'm taking my LA Girl Pro concealer and my flat concealer brush. And we're just going to lightly clean up our brows and then blend it out with my concealer brush. And the reason I kind of skipped to doing my brows is because we want to also set underneath the brows with powder. And to do that, I usually like to use like my bronzer to add a bit of color to my eyelids. So I just want to make sure that the brows are out of the way. And then again with that powder, I'm just going to go over this to set it. And then you just want to set your under eye and right underneath your brows, just like that. So now our face is almost powdered up. So now we could go in with some powder bronzer. So today I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Bronzer. And this is like my favorite bronzer right now. Probably my only bronzer actually. But we're going to use this to warm back up the skin. At this point, you could also go in with a face powder. And with that face powder, you're just going over your entire face and setting everything in place. So there's kind of two ways that you can go about your face. So you can either just go in with some bronzer, or you can go in with a face powder. So I'm just gonna take this bronzer and just apply it in all the areas that I would normally bronze. At the same time, we are setting that cream contour that we applied down. And with the same angled brush, I'm gonna dip into my bronzer and do my nose contour as well. So everything that you've applied a cream for, you want to go back over it with some powder. And I like to take the bronzer and just apply it right into the beginning of my brow hairs. This kind of just makes it a bit more natural. And then the last powder is your powder blush. So just like I said, once you use a cream, you always want to set it with a powder. So I'm going to be using the Rimmel Maxi Blush. This is in the shade Wild Card. I'm just going to take a light hand, dust off the excess, and go over that blush. Cream blush is one of the fastest things to disappear on your skin throughout the day. So going in with a powder blush on top of it will just allow the longevity and for it to last a bit longer on your skin. And then whenever my blush seems a bit too harsh, I go in with my velour puff and just go over that blush. You could see that it really mutes down the blush and also blends everything so that it looks really seamless. Okay, so we pretty much have the base down. Now it's time to work on the other areas of our face, so our eyes and our lips. Now once you finish the base, I recommend working up and then work your way down to the lips. Lips should always be the last thing. So for your eyes, you have a lot of options. If you're gonna be going in with your eyeshadow, depending on the eyeshadow that you're going to be doing, I would recommend doing your eyeshadow before you even touch your face. So get your eyeshadow done because you'll be dealing with a lot of fallout. Now, if you're going for something really natural on the eyes, it's not going to take a lot of different eyeshadows, sparkles, things like that. You can do your eyeshadow at this point. So like I said, I was going to apply some bronzer to my eyes. So I'm just going to go in with my blending eyeshadow brush and dip into my bronzer, dust off the excess, and we're just going to apply this on the eyelids and in the crease. This is just going to add a bit of dimension to the eyes as well. And if you want, you can add like a really light color to your eyelids and call it a day with your eyeshadow. But like I said, if you're going to be doing a really dramatic eyeshadow look, I recommend doing it before you apply your foundation. All right, so after this, you can either go in with some mascara or lashes. I like to go in with lashes, so I'm going to be taking my Ardell Wispies. This was in the pack of, I believe, 6, so I have one more set to go. All right, so just like that, I have my lashes on. I'm gonna finish up the eye look and apply some eyeliner to my waterline and then some mascara to my bottom lashes. All right, so once all of this is done, you now have your lips that are left over. So lips should always be like the final thing that you work on. So today I'm gonna be using the e.l.f. Flow Reviver Lip Oil. This is in the shade Honey Talks. And I am gonna line my lips today. This is actually not a lip liner, but it's an eyeliner from Palladio. I did get it from where did I get this from? Sally's. And I really love the shade of this. So I'm just gonna use this as my lip liner today. And then I'm gonna go in with my lip oil. Giving chocolatey today. All right, and then the last thing is, of course, your setting spray. So you always want to go in with a setting spray to lock your makeup look in place, especially if you're going to be wearing your makeup look for a long period of time. So today I'm going to be using the Indeed Labs Nano Set Blurring Setting Spray. I love this because it's blurring. It makes my skin look smooth, flawless. I really love this setting spray. All right, so that completes today's look. So essentially this is the order that you should be applying your makeup if you want to achieve a full face like this. So I hope I was very informative in today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you are a new sis to my channel, sis subscribe. Also hit the bell so that you're notified each time I upload. I do upload every Sunday at 1 p.m. Also, if you haven't checked it out as of yet, I did upload my clean girl makeup tutorial. So my version of a clean girl makeup look. So if you haven't checked that out, I will leave it on the screen right here for you to check out. I go in depth on the products used to achieve a natural look. Unlike today's look, it's a more natural, subtle look that you can wear every day if you want. So if you haven't checked that out, I'll leave it on the screen right here. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.